Welcome to White Slash. I'm glad to have you on my channel. Let's jump into today's story. I've always had a great relationship with my fiance. We were good friends before we started dating. We've been together for some years now. We like the same things, we have the same interests. It's good. He's a very caring individual. The only thing that causes a problem is his mother. His mother is the overbearing type. She is constantly nagging and telling me that I need to serve my SO. She believes in the traditional way of dating, where the woman does everything while the man doesn't. She found out that we were living together. She was beyond mortified and blamed me for influencing her son. She constantly criticizes my looks, the way I speak, the way I cook, the way I clean, everything you can think of. She once said, "You will never get a husband because of the way you cook," which caused an argument between us. I understood that she's from a different generation and she has her own way of doing things, but I don't think that justifies the way she treats me. If one day I just want to wear sweatpants with no makeup, she criticizes me, saying that a woman should always be made up, that I need to look presentable for my SO or else I'm embarrassing him. Another example of this attitude was when I cut my hair short and she told me that a lady should always have long hair and I was making her son look bad. And these are just a few examples. There was always something with her. I can never do anything right in her eyes, and she is the prime example of what a woman should be in her mind. I've tried talking to my SO about this, and sometimes he does speak with her, but nothing ever comes out of it. He goes in with the mindset to set her straight and then just comes out asking me to understand her. When I try to express how much what she says annoys or hurts me, he explains that she's an old woman, she's stuck in her ways, and not to take it personally. In her mind, she's only trying to help and doesn't mean any harm. At first, I would fight back against that logic, but eventually I just went with it. I love this man very much, so I guess it was worth it. It didn't make it any easier, though. It caused many fights between me and my SO, and he would even leave for a couple of days if it got really bad. So I stopped fighting back. As the years went by, her nagging got worse. She would keep insisting that the reason my SO hadn't proposed was because of how I present myself or that I'm not giving enough. She would constantly tell me how he was wasting his time on me and that maybe if I knew how to be a proper wife or if my looks were better, he would have already asked me to marry him. This really hurt to hear, and I brought this up once with my SO, but he assured me that he hadn't proposed yet because he wanted to be sure. That was completely reasonable, but it didn't take away the fact that his mom was hurting me. It wasn't just the nagging either. As the years went by, she got more possessive over my SO too. She'd want to be present in anything that we would do together. Be there on every single holiday, including my birthday, where she would never get me something with good intentions. She once bought me diet pills and a second-hand dress that was extra small, saying that this could be my inspiration. On that occasion, my husband did talk to her, but he did also tell me that she didn't mean any harm. She continued to be passive aggressive, but I put up with it because I loved my SO. Before my fiance proposed, we had a talk about kids. I didn't want any, and he knew this. I asked him if he was going to be okay with that because if not, we should probably go our separate ways. He said that he was good with that and that he didn't want kids either, that he would just be happy with me. I was very relieved to hear that, and eventually he did propose. I said yes, I was beyond happy that I was going to finally marry the man I loved. A few weeks after the proposal, my FMIL comes over to stay for a few days to help me with the wedding planning. I was dreading this because I was certain that she was going to push her ideas relentlessly. I was right, of course. She wanted the traditional wedding in a church while I wanted a simple beach wedding. I told her I wanted a mermaid silhouette for my wedding gown, and she said, "I don't think that'll be very flattering on you," which was very disheartening. She wanted to choose everything from the flowers to the venue to the clothing and so on. I tried telling my fiance how exhausting it was, and he told me that she was just very excited and to try and be understanding. At some point during her visit, she starts her lectures about what a good wife should be and that her son deserves the best. She begins instructing me on what I should cook for him, that I need to keep the house clean, and that as a wife, it is my duty to provide him with children. I didn't want to bite my tongue anymore, and I just blurted out that we weren't having kids. I explained to her that before my fiance had proposed, we had talked and we agreed to not have kids. That's when my FMIL tells me that he was probably just tongue tied because she just asked him about future children and he reassured her that we would give her many grandchildren. I was beyond shocked to hear this and I figured maybe she was just lying to get to me. So I excused myself and went to go find my fiance, who was home at the time. I asked him about it, and he hesitantly confirmed that what his mom said was true. But he figured that I would change my mind eventually and we would end up having kids. This led to a screaming match between us, and I called off the wedding. I packed up some things in my bag and I just left the house. I took a long drive all the way to my parents' house where I've been staying for the last week. My phone has been blowing up with my SO's relatives telling me to stop overreacting and that it wasn't a big deal. My FMIL has left several voice messages telling me that I am embarrassing her son and to grow up. My fiance has texted me over 20 messages begging me to come back and that we can work through this. My parents and all my friends have been very supportive, and I'm just wondering if I've overreacted. Am I the AH for calling off the wedding? Update 1. So, update here. Everyone seems to support me for calling off the wedding. I'm still staying with my parents, but I have gone back to talk to my SO. We talked for hours on end, and I expressed to him everything that I had been feeling: the treatment of his mom, how he allowed it, how he wouldn't stand up for me or put his foot down, that it was wrong of him to go behind my back and betray his word. I asked him if he would be able to stand up to his mom from now on and actually defend me against her. He said that he loves me and that he does stand up for me, but that it's his mom. That she raised him and doesn't have any bad intentions, she just wants what's best for him. So therefore, he doesn't agree that there's anything to stand up for. By that point, I had started crying and I told him that it would be best that we separated. I didn't see a future with a man who would never stand up for me and would always let his mom treat me horribly. I had let him talk me into his mom's toxic behavior. I couldn't let him talk me into anything else. He told me that we shouldn't break up because of his mom and that this is going too far, but I was firm on it and I told him it was over. I left the house and went back to my parents, who have been supporting me since the beginning of this nightmare. My dad offered to go punch his lights out, but I said it was fine. I feel like I've wasted years of my life on that man. And it breaks my heart that he would never stand up for me. His mom would always come before me, and that's not the future I want. It doesn't make it any less painful, though. I have to figure out where I'm going to move out to, but for now, I just need a second to process everything that's happened. Update 2. It's been a couple of weeks since we broke up. His mother actually showed up at my parents' house, knocking loudly on the door, demanding to speak with me. My parents opened the door but didn't let her inside, asking her to leave. She insisted that she needs to speak with me, that I'm making a mistake, that I'm embarrassing her son and her family because I can't change my ways and be a proper woman. That I need to grow up and just marry her son because if not, he's just wasted all these years for nothing. My parents started yelling at her, and she only left when they threatened to call the police. I heard everything and I started to cry again. Thankfully, they've been really supportive. I decided to move back in with my parents since they offered, just to get myself back on my feet. I went over to the house with my friends who volunteered to help out. My ex fiance wasn't there, but he had given us permission to go in and grab my stuff. After gathering everything up, I realized that some of my items are missing. I'm guessing that his mom probably threw some things away out of anger. I frankly didn't give a crap anymore. I just wanted to get out of there. I've been living with my friends since then. It's been okay. I feel very heartbroken over the situation, but at least now I won't be trapped in a life I didn't want, stuck with a man who would never stand up for me. His mom has continued to text me nonstop, so I've blocked her number. I almost feel sorry for him. So wrapped up around his mom's finger, but that's not my problem anymore. NTA. Mama's boys are always a red flag. Run. Your FMIL was so toxic. What the F? Anyone who tried to tell you otherwise is messed up in the head. 29 male, was at the park with my 10-year-old son yesterday. He was running all around the playground, and I was seated on a bench that had a good vantage of the entire playground. At one point, he got on some swings that were on the far side of the playground from me. Since I could see the swings fine from where I was, I felt no need to relocate. There were some monkey bars near me, and a girl a little younger than my son was playing on them. I didn't really notice her until I heard a loud thump and saw her on the ground under the bars. Now, keep in mind, everything I did at this point was instinct. Everything happened over the course of seconds. She was lying on the ground, not crying, screaming, nothing. She wasn't even moving. I instantly felt panicked and ran over to her. I pulled out my phone to potentially call 911 and knelt down next to the child and saw that her mouth was moving and she was kind of quietly sucking on air. I started yelling, "Are you okay? Can you hear me? Where are your parents?" In hindsight, I think she just got the air knocked out of her lungs and needed a minute to catch her breath, because she sat up at that point and burst into tears. Probably because I was yelling, it was a bad call, but I panicked. At this point, I started to calm down, because A, she was alert, and B, she was clearly able to breathe. But before I could do anything else, a woman ran over screaming at me to get away from her daughter. I did so, but I just backed up a few feet because I thought she might have questions about what happened. She started yelling at me and saying she was going to call the cops. I told her everything that happened and she told me I had no right to touch her daughter. I didn't, but she thought I did and shouldn't approach strange children without a mask. I had one, but I forgot to put it on because I had been in panic mode and didn't think about it. She also demanded to know why I was at the park. I pointed to my son and explained I was there with him. She didn't believe he was my son, and I got the sense that I was just making things worse. So I apologized and headed back to my bench. When I got there, I looked over at my son, who had seen none of this. Now, here's the weird part: the woman had sent her daughter back over to their stuff and was walking towards my son. I can't explain it, but I got this strange feeling. I felt all of a sudden like my kid was in danger, like she wanted to hurt him. I know that's probably not the case. I know she probably just wanted to verify my story, but I can't explain the sick feeling that washed over me. I yelled my son's name and gestured for him to run over to me while also jogging towards him. We met halfway and I saw the woman scowling at us. I told him I wanted to get something to eat and he agreed. As we left, the woman yelled at me that I was a prick and a hypocrite for interfering with her child but not wanting her near mine. Was I TA for wanting to keep my kid away from her after approaching hers? You thought her daughter was in trouble and you had an instant reaction to check on her. You didn't touch her either. Obviously, you're a stranger, but the mother should understand that you were worried. She had zero reason to approach your son and shouldn't ask a child to verify an adult's story. You made a judgment call to keep her away from him, and you were not rude to her. NTA. NTA, I feel so sorry for men in those situations because I'm almost certain that if I, as a mom, had rushed over to help the kid up, the other mom would not have reacted in such an extreme way. I also think the circumstances were different here. You ran up to help a child who might have been badly hurt. She, in some kind of weird mood, approached your child for no reason. My 17-year-old nephew approached me a few weeks ago and asked if I would help him. He has very dry skin and he wanted to have softer skin. He's a trainee mechanic and often gets very dirty. He wants to take better care of himself. He approached me because I have a pretty solid skincare routine worked out. When I was younger, my mom never really cared about skincare, so it took a lot of time to get my skin to where it is now, and I'm proud of it. It's soft, smooth, and I often get told my skin looks amazing. This has earned me a reputation of being a bit of a princess within my husband's family, but I don't care. My husband has recently started following my skincare routine too, and he is stoked with the results. I went out, grabbed my nephew some basics, a face scrub, some cleanser, moisturizer, some nice natural men's soap, and a few other odds and ends. He has been using these items a lot and loves them. He can't stop thanking me. My SIL found out the other day that I was helping him and she hit the roof. She told me I was turning her son into someone he wasn't. That skincare is for women, and she also made some homosexual slurs when talking about how she didn't want her son using these products because real men don't do that. I laughed and told her a lot of men are looking after their skin. It's not a bad thing. He approached me about it and I was happy to help him out. SIL is fuming though. She said I'm an a-hole and turning her son into a homosexual. I should mind my own business and stop forcing my crap on him. I should have spoken to her first so she could have said no. AITA? Edited to add, since so many people have asked for it, my skincare routine is get in the shower, wash face with face scrub, once or twice a week. Wash with cleanser, use body scrub every second day. Use calming body wash or energizing body wash depending on if it's morning or night. Get out of shower, dry face, use revitalizing serum on face, leave dry, use brightening eye serum under the eyes and up to temples. Let dry, then follow up with a night cream or day cream. I use Sukin products and I'm a big fan of the brightening products. I also use the Ageless Pro range for my day or night cream and revitalizing serum. Sukin has a wide range for different skin types and they're all natural and cruelty free, so I gave my nephew stuff for dry skin. In the end, the best skincare is one that works for you, and as long as you stick to your routine, you shouldn't have a problem. It's not an overnight fix, you have to be in it for the long haul. NTA, your nephew is old enough to think for himself. It doesn't seem like you forced this onto him. Your SIL is a homophobe. Let her be fuming. It seems that it may be about time that she learns that her son has a mind of his own and can make his own choices about his body, and that her image of what a man is supposed to be is super sexist.